Okay, we're live. Hold on. Yep, I'm alive. Wait.
Are you alive?
Yep, I'm alive. Let's do it.
Well, welcome to Unraveling the Not Me. The Not You, the Not Me. And it's a very special edition of the Being You Book Club. I am not Emily Russell, but I am Megan Hill. And Emily couldn't be here today, but
oh wait, you're not her.
I'm not her.
Perfect.
I'm not her.
So good.
I am not me. I'm unraveling the not me to get to me.
Right. And you're not Emily. Maybe we should have renamed it to Unraveling the Not Emily, and we should interview you.
Hey, let's interview you about the not me. I'm just seeing here, there are a lot of lovely spam links going up in the Facebook chat and in the comments. Yep. Please do not click on those. Just so you guys know, there are Zoom links that we will put there, but anything that looks like that, that's flashy with live airplay, that looks like spam, it is spam. So
yep, just report it as spam.
I'm seeing them flood, which is
report and block. Report and block.
It's basically it's not us. So
right. Oh my God, what a perfect example.
Exactly.
Spam bots are not us, and you are not a spam bot, my friends. Hello from all over the world. Nice to see you all.
Yes.
Yay.
And a couple of things, we do have 10 languages getting translated live. So if you're listening and you can't find the link to it, we will have it on the landing page after the fact as well. So that's drdainheer.com/BY book club. So 10 languages, how does it get better? And it's actually this book has been published, this is the 10-year anniversary.
Right, that's true.
It's crazy.
Back in 2011, and now everybody's talking about being them while not being them. It's awesome.
So what is that? What is the not me?
Well, the not me it's all of those things that we have created and invented as though we must be that in order to survive, in order to live with other people, in order to supposedly not be wrong, but it's the thing that always makes us judge us as wrong. And we're told that being us, when we're being us, and if any of you have ever had the experience of being too much for somebody else, we're told that us, when we're being us, is too much for other people. So we need to find a way to shut that down. So we create this world of judgment. It's almost like a machine of judgment, if you will, that's like that judges everything you choose, judges everything you do, judges everything you'd like to choose, judges everything you have chosen, and is about trying to show up in the world in a way that proves that you are you and proves that you are appropriate rather than actually getting to be you. And one of the things we learned in Access Consciousness a long time ago was that you always try to prove the opposite of what you believe you are. And so when you believe that you're, like, for example, if you've ever had one of those people who was so syrupy sweet, was just like, yes, I'm just so sweet, I'm just so kind, and I'm just sweet and kind, that's all I am on sweetness and light. And yet if you ever pissed them off, like they went aggro, they were the angriest person you ever met. You know, and so what they were trying to prove is that they don't really want to kill everyone because they found out that didn't work very well. And so, and then have you ever met a big guy who's like, I'm so tough, and you get him alone, he's a total teddy bear? Well, this is that taken to the nth degree where we live our lives thinking that the choices that we want to make must somehow be wrong. So we have to somehow try to prove that we're being something that's acceptable to society, reality, other people, rather than actually getting to be what we are, which would actually not just be acceptable, it would be beyond the need for acceptance. And so most people are functioning from the need of acceptance from other people's judgments. And you cannot get acceptance from people who judge. It doesn't exist. They will never accept you. They will always judge you. And we think if we just bend, fold, staple, and mutilate ourselves enough, and be whatever it is that is not me, then we can end or avoid the judgments. Except, no. Oh, look, another spam bot. Oh, that's great. And it doesn't actually work that way. So this is about a conversation where, what would it be like if you no longer judged you as wrong? If you no longer had to function from all that stuff that you created, even as a little kid and growing up, that doesn't allow you to see what choice you would like to make and actually have the capacity to make it.
Well, it's so interesting. Like, I've been looking at this topic a lot. And one of the things that you've asked at different times is like, when did you first give up you? Like, when was that moment where you kind of like chose to fit in, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember I think I was in like 6th grade, and I was getting like made fun of for being so fair skinned and being different. And it was like this moment of like, I didn't at the time have any clue who I was, but I knew at that point I need to start fitting in so that I can not be judged or basically fit in for whatever reason, you know, to not be left out to whatever. So,
well, that's where it starts. And it's an interesting thing because a lot of times we got the awareness from people around us that what we were was inappropriate or too much from a very young age.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to people and I ask them, how old were you when you first started this? And they go, 3. I'm like, wow, what happened at 3? And they're like, well, I don't know. I just had this sense that what I was wasn't enough. What I was wasn't working. And I realized that, and what's funny is a lot of times, so I've asked many people this question, you know, when did you first start doing this? When did you start fundamentally being what is not you, as though that was you? And, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like really young ages a lot of times. And 90% of the time I said, so what happened? They're like, I'm not exactly sure, but I get this sense of being magical and almost explosive in my energy and freaking people out. So I decided I'd never do it or be it again. And so all of you out there, whoever decided you would never do it and be it again, will you destroy and uncreate all that, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you don't know what that is, it's found at theclearingstatement.com. But it's a way of changing things rather than just talking about them. And part of the beauty of access consciousness is the more you let go of that is making you heavy and stressing you out, the more lightness you start to get to, but also the more of you get to be. And it's an amazing thing to look in the mirror and go, wow, I actually like that person. I like the place from which I'm living my life. I like the choices that I'm making. And the weird part is we're so conditioned that somehow if we like us, we're going to be arrogant. If we like us and show up as us, it's going to be all about us. And so we spend our entire lives trying to prove that we're not those people. But if you look at those people, look at somebody who's truly arrogant. Do they really like themselves? Or are they trying to prove that they like themselves and prove they're superior to other people? And then we're back to proving again. So I bring that up because a lot of people have avoided stepping into that place where they're being whatever it is they are, because they don't want to be selfish. They don't want to be arrogant. They don't want to be self-interested. And it's funny because when you actually step into being what you are, and not that, not me, if you want to call it that. And we called it that because it's an easy way of identifying something. It's like, if it's not light, it's not you. Okay. So if you're making a choice, it's not light, it's not you. It's either something that you bought, something you instituted, etc. And so with that, what happens is when you actually choose according to you and the lightness of what you know is true, it is an amazing gift, because that's when you actually are there more for other people. You're more contributory. You have more gratitude. You have more joy. You like yourself more. You like other people more. You're far less harsh with other people. You're far less harsh with yourself. There's so many, it's such a wonderful space. And like, even with all these, you know, insane friggin' spam bot comments, it's like, you know, like, my point of view is fuck you and die. You know, why do you have the right to come and interrupt the flow of all of these people? You know, but that's not from unkindness. It's like, it's calling bullshit on the bullshit that's there. So enough, you know? And I mean, if you look at it, it's a perfect example of these things that we're talking about, because it's the lies and the distraction and the crap that takes you off of, let's have this conversation about possibilities. Let me make this choice so I can actually do something to change my world and make it greater. And yet there's always this chatter here that's always about, there's always this chatter that's always about distracting and making everything less, while acting like that's the only choice you have. And it's never the only choice we have, ever. We never have only one choice. Everything that is times a godzillion. Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Yep, so, call the bullshit out and then you can choose greater. Exactly.
So how does one, you know, with your book, actually, the Being You Changing the World book and the classes, that was the first time I ever started getting that sense of, okay, if I'm being me, this is the energy of me. So I always had like this reference to, okay, that's the energy of me. If I'm not being that, then, you know, what else is possible, basically. But everyone listening, like, what are some of the tips that you use on a daily basis if you're not being you to get to you?
Oh, great question. Okay, so let's do this right now. So I run through a lot of things. I just go boom, 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 boom. And then here's the deal is apparently you made it when people spam you. Exactly. Oh, thank you, Rachel. So what I do is I've got all these tools from Access in my head somewhere. And then I'm just like, I try this, I try this, I try this. Okay. So the first place I start, if I'm not being me, I have this sense of being heavy. And it's kind of like heavy, yucky, and also disconnected from people. You know, people say, hey, what's your opinion on this? I'm like, not right now. You know, not right now. I'm not being me. Get back to me tomorrow. I'm sure I'll be me by then, you know? Mm-hmm. And so, and there's also this sense of just wanting to kind of curl up in a ball and stay in bed all day or whatever sometimes, you know, or I get really cranky. So, so a few things. First thing I'll do is I'll get the sense of that energy and I'll go, everything this is, I now destroy and uncreate it, pock and pod. And then I go pock and pod, 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 pock and pod. Okay. And all I'm doing is I'm using the pock and pod machine gun and pock, 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 at every friggin' energy that, and I don't even know what I'm pock and podding. I just say it over and over again, and it feels like different things explode in that sort of wall I feel like I'm stuck behind. And I'm like, okay, so now how does it get any better than this? What else is possible I've never considered? What is possible beyond this reality that I think is not possible, that if I allowed the possibilities would actualize a different reality? And then I go, okay, I get all the energy that's still left, and I go, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Interesting point of view, I have this point of view. And okay, so it's getting lighter. And then everything I aligned and agreed with and resisted and reacted to that allows us to exist, right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And then all the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections I have, and that anybody else has of me, and all of the fixed points of view I have about all of this and everything that holds it in place and everything it's caused from that it isn't or that it is, destroy and uncreate all that. Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I love it. Ines said, my OCD only lets me use the entire clearing statement. It's kind of funny. Pock and pod, I guess, also does the job. I am the same way.
I still get that.
Uh-huh. Oh. And then I would do, okay, who does this belong to? Is this actually mine? And if I don't get a sense, or it just sort of sticks there, I go, okay, Puck and Pod, when I bought this, is mine when it wasn't. Puck and Pod, everything I've created and uncreated as a result. Return to sender, right and wrong, good and bad, Pod and Puck, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And then I go, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. All of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. Okay.
Yeah. It's somebody wrote here, like, who does it belong to? Which this is like takes who does it belong to the next level, because it's like there are these moments when you're being someone, something that you're not. Like, I know that I do it when I'm being a mom, and then I'm like, who am I being? Because if I were actually being me, would I choose to be like this? And then it can start shifting. But it's so interesting how it's like, it's the awareness piece, but also when you actually start being this other thing that isn't you.
Yes. Yes. And the thing about that is, if you ask that, who am I being? At the very least, you'll get that you're not being you.
Yeah.
And when you get that you're not being you, that becomes the first step to getting to be you. And so, especially given that we're talking about not me, that's a great question. Because anytime you're not light, or especially when you're sort of acting out somebody else's world, you know, where it's like you wake up kind of and then you go downhill from there, and it's like, it's like, okay, who am I being? And Puck and Pod. And sometimes you'll get a sense of who you're being. You're like, oh my God, I'm being my mom again. Oh shit, you know? Or you get a sense of being somebody that's, you know, currently in your life, or I'm being this type of person, or somebody you just met, or whatever. Because one of the other things that we'll do when we meet somebody, we end up walking around kind of like they do for a while.
It's like the people with their dogs, and their dog starts looking like them.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're walking down the street. It's like, that's just so weird.
Isn't it though?
Yeah. And you see that with couples and everything. They just start like all looking the same.
Yeah. And we'll do that with people we're close to, but we'll also do it with people that we just meet.
Yeah.
You know, like if you meet somebody who's, you know, really excited about something, you're learning something from them, you'll try to duplicate their energy as a way, which is a capacity you have, but you'll duplicate their energy as a way of trying to get to the awareness they have, or the way that they do things, see it through their eyes. But once you're in their head looking through their eyes, sometimes it's really tough to get out.
Right.
So if you ask that, who am I being?
That's really huge. Like, I don't know if, until I found Access Consciousness, I had no idea that that's what I was actually, like, it's such a capacity that you can actually do that.
Yeah. And
see the world through someone else's eyes. And I think that's one of the things, with all of your help and everything, like, okay, what is my reality? What is who, you know, if I were being me, who would I be? Because we've taken this capacity and twisted it.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is if I were truly being me, who would I be?
Yeah.
Who, what, where, when, why, and how would I be?
Yeah.
And when you ask that, just be with it for a moment. And it's like, oh, I would be different than right now, how I'm acting like this.
Well, even right now, I'm like, I'm being really weird because I'm supposed to be a certain way on a Facebook Live and interviewing you. And it's so interesting that it's like, I'm just acknowledging it because I'd like to destroy and uncreate it.
Yeah, you are being weird. Who are you being?
Whoever, I have no idea.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and puck, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. The beauty of a lot of this access stuff is you don't actually have to get the answer.
Yeah.
In other words, you don't have to necessarily know who, you don't have to know what. It's really about getting the sense that there is something off, asking the question, which sort of opens up the door for you to get back to you. Yeah. Or get forward to you, as the case may be. Yeah. And, you know, and it's a great gift to be able to not be stuck in something that's not you.
Yeah, because it just starts being like,
yeah. And also, look at this. So many people are living their lives, their entire lives, from all kinds of things that are not them, which is obviously why we wanted to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And in actuality, I didn't want to have this conversation. I don't know who decided this was a great title for a Being You book club, but it wasn't me. Apparently, it slipped by my awareness if I was indeed asked about it. Okay. And the reason I didn't want to have the conversation, wasn't because I didn't want to have the conversation, but this entire concept came up in a maestro class. And a maestro class is the class that has the highest prerequisites and access. So it was a very dynamically, quote unquote, advanced conversation that the people in that class were willing to have. But it was an interesting thing where I'm like, okay, the only reason I could talk to those people about it is because they'd gotten so much freedom by letting their world sort of change using access tools that introducing this, they were like, oh, that makes so much sense. Well, I guess apparently it's time for other people to hear about it right now.
Well, so you put out a tour of consciousness video 2 days ago on image. And that so addressed this energy of like, if we, take the, whatever the not me is, whatever that is, but it's like the image thing is actually where it starts. It's like, who do I need to be? Who do I need to show up as to get it right? To be a good interviewer for Dain here on Facebook Live, like, whatever the stuff is, like that tour of consciousness changed so much. And it,
well, I'm glad you brought up the image part, because I think that's actually something that, because people can get, okay, I'm not being me.
Yeah.
But if you start to look at the image that you are creating in a particular situation for whatever, or that you've created your life as, it becomes the judgeable, it's like this thing where you're trying to prove I am this and I am only this. I am not all those things that are judgeable and bad and wrong. I am only this, which of course is perfect. Thank you for noticing how perfect it is. Except the problem is you're always having to go around and repair the facade of your image. And if you're around more than one person when you're doing this image thing, what ends up happening is you're like, you can maintain it here for one person because they're talking, and you're like, oh, I know how to do this. I can say this to keep the right image. But then if somebody else over here is like, hey, what about this? You're like, I don't know how to talk to two people like it. I only have enough image resources for one person. It's like having a slow graphics processor on your computer. You're like, I can only have one window open at a time. Sorry. Okay. And you start freaking out, and then you feel like you do all this stuff wrong. But what it is this image is what puts us in a constant state of judgment of us. And it puts us in a constant state of judgment of what is right, good, perfect, and correct to be, and what is wrong, bad, terrible, vicious, mean, awful, that we believe that we are, that we keep hiding from us, or hiding from us, but more what we're doing is we're trying to hide that from the world.
Yeah.
And so your image is that facade that you put up, like, only look here, only look here. There's nothing else to see behind the curtain. Everything here is perfect and everything here is absolute shit, So everything you've all done to create the image, because everybody else is creating an image, you didn't realize you weren't creating an image, but every time you function from the image, you're not being you, and you don't get light, you get heavy, and you're always in a state of judgment rather than a state of happiness and ease and joy and possibilities where you destroy and create it all, please.
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And we're doing a Facebook Live and a YouTube Live, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Both.
Yeah, we're live on the tube too. Hey, how you doing? Let's start saying all kinds of stuff we're not supposed to say about the pandemic and see what. No, we probably shouldn't. Okay, I just thought,
Hey, congratulations on Texas being like, leading the way.
Right?
I'm sure it has nothing to do with you living there. If you guys don't know, Texas is going mandate mask-free and like 100% open as of next week, which is like the day before you start the Being You Changing the World class.
Yes, right?
You do have a live component. So if you're in the USA and you'd like to come, check it out. We will put the link in the comments as well. It's drdainheer.com/BU. So it's not that hard to remember. But yeah, it's like Man. Yeah. Thank you for letting me just announce to the world that I was not being me.
Thank you for being willing to announce to the world that you're not being you.
So
that is way more like you actually being you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how does it get better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, because that's the beauty of it is, this is the whole other thing about the image, is we're trying to cultivate an image of perfection and how perfect we are. And I never screw up. In fact, I haven't farted ever this lifetime, just so you know. And it's funny because in the Tour of Consciousness video, I was talking about the beginning of the Being You Changing the World. The evening class is called Onward, Upward, Forward. And, it sounds like, which I was like, it kind of sounds like a fart, like, like one of those silent ones, like not, but, what was that? Nothing. I just, and so it's like this image thing is all about trying to prove your perfection when you've decided you're not. Yeah. And the thing about perfection is, there's so many of us that are perfectionists, and perfection is the highest form of judgment that exists. And so if you're striving for perfection, rather than striving for being you, rather than striving for being happy, you instead have to be in a constant state of judgment of you. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm so grateful for the Being You classes. They changed my life. I actually realized that I was and am joyful, and I laugh so much more now. Yay! Awesome.
I remember her first class. It was in LA, which was very weird to have a Being You class in LA.
Talk about, hey, I'm a guy who likes a challenge sometimes.
Talk about image and,
Totally. Yeah, that's why there's only like 3 people from Los Angeles on this particular live. They're like, don't take away my image. It's the only thing that makes it work here. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's do this. How much energy do you put? I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to everybody. Okay, just don't take it personally. I don't want you to get defensive, defend your image or anything. Okay, so
let's go.
How much energy do you put into maintaining and defending the right, good, perfect, and correct, and the wrong, bad, terrible, vicious, mean, awful image of you are choosing? Everything that is times a godzillion. Will you destroy it and create it, please?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Wow. So how much energy do you put into maintaining the right, good, perfect, and correct image, and the wrong, bad, terrible, vicious, mean, awful, evil image you are proving is you? That is not. Everything that is times a godzillion. Will you destroy it and create it, please?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you had that energy instead for something fun or something creative, what would you use it for? Everything that doesn't allow that times a godzillion, we destroy it and create it all, please.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyond.
And Blake said busted.
Gotcha. And here's the part I say again is, these access tools are about living our life. They're about the fundamental, just waking up happy.
Yeah.
Being a cool person, And I don't say a good person because we always judge that we're bad, but like being a cool person, being somebody you like, being somebody where you look at them in the mirror and you're like, I actually like you. I like the space from which you're choosing. I like the fact that you enjoy yourself. I like the fact that you're enjoying your body. It's like, and it's so weird. It's like, where the hell did we get the idea that it was so bad to just like us? And so we create this image as though that will make people judge us the right way, and as though it will allow us to judge ourselves the right way. But it's all about judgment.
Yeah.
It's all, if I can prove to them that I am what they want me to be, but I can prove that I'm not what I really am, that they would judge, then everything will be okay. Everything that is times a godzillion. We just run and create it, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And thank you all for the gratitude and the entertainment, by the way. I love Access people because they have a sense of humor, you know? That's one of the other things that is almost impossible to have when you have an image is laughter and a sense of humor. Because you always have to look and go, oh, am I laughing appropriately? Did they say something that it is appropriate to laugh at? Where everything I say is, of course, curated perfectly. And that's the other thing. You have to do perfect curation. It's like living in a fucking museum, you know, where, oh, you can't sit on the furniture because it's from the 1880s and it belonged to somebody. And you can't do anything that's too much fun because if you move too much, you might break something. That's the way people are living their lives in this perfectly curated image. And it's so much more fun to be whatever you are in the moment.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you have to say everything that comes out of your mouth. I mean, I tend to, but hey, that's just me. I tend to when I'm facilitating, you know, I tend to when I'm doing something like this, but outside of class, I will do that. But I also spend a lot of time not saying anything and just entertaining myself in my mind. Because that's one of the other things that people do with their images. A lot of people just talk and talk and talk and talk because they're uncomfortable with the silence of being in their own heads. So everything Nat brought up, all of you who are uncomfortable with having silence in your head, and everywhere you talk to fill the space, and everywhere you talk so you don't have to be aware of how uncomfortable other people are in their own space, we destroy and uncreate it, please. Yeah. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Oh, you know, I was going to add one other thing to the list of things that I do when I'm having a cranky pants day and don't know what to do. I read the Being You book, or I put on the audiobook, and I just press play, or I just open the book, or I press play on a random chapter. Yeah. And it's just like, and what's funny is it's me reading the book in English, at least. I have not yet developed the capacity to read it in other languages. Although I think if I'm going to start, I should start with Turkish, just because nothing in Turkish looks or sounds the way I think it should. So I think it would be a great challenge, you know. But I hear it. I'm like, I'm the one that wrote it. I'm the one that's reading it. And I'm listening going, wow, I needed that today, you know, like
just every single time you read it.
Totally.
Where you're just rewriting every chapter.
That's what I do is I sneak into everybody's house who has one. And I just, whether it's, you know, audio or whatever, I actually have a little wand and a tutu. And sometimes I go out at night, usually Thursday in a full moon, and change everybody's audios in their books so that we can, you know, have things be current.
Yeah.
So get an audiobook and you may end up, or actually I do this with the, I started learning that I could do it with the audios of classes, because I would have people say, I've listened to this class 7 times and it is different every time. And I'm liking it more each time. I can't believe I didn't hear any of this the first time. And I'm like, no, I go out and I change the audios with my silver tutu and my silver wand. So yeah, I just want to let people know what's really going on behind the scenes.
Anything you have, just re-listen and see what shows up.
Exactly. Because as you get different, it gets different. But this, you know, this conversation is, it's so much about this way that we can be that actually has a level of peace to it. It's got a level of ease. It's got a level of joy, but also so many people are going around afraid of what the world is going to throw at them. So they're sort of withdrawn. Just this world is basically a giant walking, talking post-traumatic stress disorder for most people.
Especially
and so
it's like you go out in the world, everyone is just, you know, contracted, definitely a mask on, you know, and then when you're aware, you kind of like, you know, it's just bizarre for me. I find it bizarre, but you, like someone said, is this the real Dain? You show up as you all the time and it's never the same. It's, you're just you, and it's different every single 10 seconds. And what a gift. So yes, Dain is, I don't think you ever do image. You're just like you, which is amazing. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because you guys get asked that all the time. What's he like on stage?
They're like, hey, what's he like off stage?
Exactly.
What's he actually like? I'm like, just like he is right now. No, there's no like Dain that you don't get to see, folks. What you see is and that's actually, I don't even know if you get what a gift that is, because I'm not sure anywhere else in the world do you have people being that, you know?
Wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, I can't do the other thing. I never have been able to. And anytime I've tried, I mean, like even with, I was doing a TED talk. And so the people that were helping with the script gave me a 2-minute script to read. I couldn't do it. It sounded like absolute crap. And I mean, I can sit and talk for 4, 5, 6, 7 days without repeating myself and without stopping, and always ending going, geez, I wish I had more time, But a 2-minute script, 2 minutes of something that isn't me, not going to happen. I just can't. And I've tried. It just doesn't come across with any of the wonderfulness that I would like to have in our world. And I think to a certain point, we've somehow gotten into the lie that us showing up as us detracts from the world.
Right.
But in actuality, that's the lie, because us showing up as us brings more wonderfulness to the world, makes the world a kinder, more awesome place for everybody. And it also gives other people permission to be them.
Yeah.
Because so many of the seekers, the beautiful humanoids of the world, have been in such judgment of them for being different. And it's that difference that really is the gift. And, and so if nothing else, I hope this is permission to let a little of the image go, recognize that you're not wrong for having created it, and also recognize that the world is changing and we are a dynamic part of creating that change. And when I say we, I mean usins and all of you that are watching, and all of us that are choosing more consciousness. And it's like, and consciousness doesn't just come from access consciousness, consciousness comes from mountains and streams and animals and birds and a rare few people. And, because so many people are doing image, and you can't, it's very tough to get to the vulnerability, to experience the vulnerability that is available to us, if we've got to continuously try to put forth something that is not us, that is the perfection of the image, to try to prove something about us that we believe is not true about us. And it's a lot of energy. It's a lot of judgment against us. And to a certain extent, we think we're going to avoid abuse, we're going to avoid unkindness. But in actuality, in that case, you're abusing you and you're being unkind to you. It's like, so how much of that are we actually avoiding, and how much of it are we perpetrating? And so what's beyond it is, probably a great question to ask. Well, imagine you woke up tomorrow morning and you had no judgment of you and your world at all. And rather than waking up with a litany of judgment about what you're not doing and what you're not being, and you go and you stand and look in front of the mirror, you naked, and you have no judgment of your body, and you're like, wow. And you actually see your body, maybe for the first time in your life. And you perceive the kindness that it has, and the fact that it's been there for you, no matter how much you've judged it or tried to make it perfect. And no matter how much you try to start that judgment machine, no matter how many times you push the red button, it just won't go on. It's like the power switch is broken on it or something. And then, so you see the person, let's say you're in a relationship, or so you see that person that you're in relationship with, and rather than thinking of all the things they have done or haven't been or whatever, you just have immense gratitude for them. And they look at you, and somehow by some miracle, their judgment machine is broken too. And they look at you, and all they have is total gratitude. All the past and all the shit that's been there, that's built up, is not there. And you just look at each other, and you look at each other's bodies and go, oh my God, that's beautiful. And they look at yours and go, oh my God, that's beautiful. And you receive somebody perceiving your body is beautiful because it's been a long friggin' time, because with the image in place, your body gets involved, and it can't receive any of the idea that it's beautiful if it doesn't match the image.
Right.
And anything that actually truly is beautiful about it can't be received. So here you are, you both look at each other, and without the image and without the system of judgment, you look at each other and you both receive this bolt of the beauty of your body. And you're like, whoa. And then you both get a little turned on, okay, maybe a lot turned on. And you're like, wow. But rather than, oh, we must have sex now to prove that our images are correct of how many times we have sex, you look and go, wow, this is an amazing energy. We don't have time right now. We got to go, start life, but wow. And then after the body and the acknowledgement, what happens is you sit there for just another moment, looking in each other's eyes, and the awareness of their being brings you to tears because it's so beautiful and you've never noticed before. And their awareness of your being brings them to tears, and it's so beautiful they've never actually noticed before, because most relationships are created based on image plus image plus image plus image plus image. And you see the beauty of their being, they see the beauty of yours, and you both melt into perceiving being received for the first time ever, without having to hide any of it now, without having to make any of it perfect, without having to make anything of you right or wrong or them right or wrong. And you're like, holy shit, this must be what communion is like. And you notice that you seem to occupy infinite space. Because in the space of two people with no image and no judgment, with total gratitude and total intimacy and vulnerability, it creates this space that seems like it can go on forever. And you stand there for a moment stunned with them and them stunned with you. And you realize we have just done something that has changed our worlds. Mm-hmm. And then if you're willing to, then you go, okay, I don't know how we got here. I don't care. I would just ask to be this from now on. And I'd like to ask to actually be this with everyone and everything. I'd like to ask to be this with my body, with every interaction that I have, with everything in the world. I'm done with image. Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Now, we could take that further. As you're showering and getting ready, you feel the water on your skin, and it's like, whoa, I never had this much sensitivity before. Because when you're doing the image, you put this energetic wall around you. And it's not just you put up, like you bring up an image, you put it on when you go out or whatever. It's like it's energetically with you all the time.
Yeah.
It would be one thing if it were like a friggin' COVID mask that you put on and you knew you were doing it and took it off. But this thing is around you all the time. So you climb into the shower without that and you feel that water on your skin and you're like, whoa, when did my body come alive? The moment you drop the judgment system in the image. And you want to stay in that shower forever because it feels so good. So you finally drag yourself out of the shower and you go to get ready. And rather than resisting it and hating it and judging it and all that, you're just like, oh. And so because you don't have any point of view about it, you get ready in 3 minutes, it seems like. And you're like, holy cow, I'm ready. How did that happen? I don't even remember half of those steps. I didn't go through the same process I usually do. And then you go to wherever you work. Or in this case, I guess you go from your bedroom to your office or your
You're not in traffic. You know that. You just go from one room to the other.
You go from your bathroom to your bedroom or your office, whatever it is, right? And you start interacting with people and you realize you have absolutely nothing to prove. Absolutely nothing. And you notice yourself kind of like making little jokes that you may have it a long time before, but you kind of stop because you got so much judgment and people just didn't get it or whatever. And now you notice yourself making these jokes. And because you're not doing it from image, you're just doing it for the fun of it. People are laughing. And you're on the phone with somebody and you do that. And they're laughing and then they go, oh, I just have to tell you, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Thank you. I wish everybody were like you. And you know that thing that you're ordering? Well, we're going to make sure it gets to you as soon as possible. And if you have any problems, call me back. And then you get to work, you go on a Zoom work meeting with the Brady Bunch, the new Brady Bunch work systems that we have. And rather than wondering what everybody's thinking, and rather than having everything come from your head where you're like, oh, I must say this to them, or, oh, they're doing this and they're not this and I'm not this and they think this, you show up totally different. You show up as a question. You show up and go, I wonder what is possible today that has never been possible before. And you don't even have to say the question, but you might, because you might actually have the space to say it now. Because when you're not functioning from image, you have the space to say all kinds of things that can then be received. Because from your image, you'll try to only say that which cannot be judged, or you'll try to say the thing that you must make happen in the right way. And then if it's not perfectly received, judged by your image, then you have failed and you should not have said that. But also, why will they not do what I want them to do? And then you go into your control systems. But this time you just go, wow, I wonder what is possible with us now that's never been possible before. And universe, show us something beautiful. And you may not be able to say the second one. You could almost always say the first one, okay? Mm-hmm. But what happens is you say that, and the energy that you're being has no walls and barriers, nothing to prove at all. It's just like, hi, it's like a big 6-year-old, but a very competent 6-year-old. Not like a big 6-year-old, I'm just gonna go do this, I'm gonna go do this. And it's like, hi, I'm here. But I'm here with no walls and no barriers, no agenda. I'm here to see what we can be and do and create together right now. And you show up with that energy in that space, and you see people melt. And everybody's kind of like, what is going on? Because when somebody is that space, they get kind of spacey. But then they also let down their own walls. And anywhere there's been a block in a situation, with people, coworkers, family, friends, whatever, anywhere there's been a block, what happens is they now have the freedom to say what's actually going on that's been underneath the surface forever that you could feel and perceive, but your image wouldn't let you address. Because it can't occur, image will never let you function from vulnerability because it's there to maintain what you set it up for. And so now you have this vulnerability and they go, you know what? Actually, the real thing underneath all of this is this thing that occurred over here. And it felt like you did this to this person, and you get to go either I'm really sorry, or you know what? Thank you so much for telling me. Here's actually what I meant. And they go, oh my God, seriously? You meant that? I thought you meant the exact opposite. And now, and all of the discord starts to melt. But also all of the possibilities start to show up. So I do realize that I walk people on sort of a weird journey, perhaps.
That was beautiful. It was.
Thank you.
I wake up. We should cut that part out and wake up and listen to that.
Good idea.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's what's possible beyond us functioning from not me and not us, functioning from beyond the image. And the thing is, the thing that I love about getting to do the Being You class is exactly that. That is what shows up for people. In other words, when I say that, I mean the them that has been hiding behind the image the whole time. They realize that undoing the image and actually having more of them and actually be present is such a gift in how they can live, such a gift in how they can be. And I mean, if I could give everybody on the planet one thing other than total consciousness, but they would have this if they had total consciousness, but it would be the awareness that they are a gift. And it's one thing for me to say it. And I hope some of you out there are receiving this, okay? It's one thing for me to say it. It's a whole other thing where you're with people from around the world, whether Zoom or in person or whatever, doesn't matter at this point, which is interesting. But you're there with people from around the world who are having this exploration, and you get to go on everybody's journey and pick all the parts. Like somebody, you may not know the question to ask, and somebody else in the class will. And you go, oh, that's a question I would have asked had I known. And I'll facilitate them, but also I don't just talk at them. What I do is bring them on this energetic journey. But everybody in the class goes on the energetic journey. And what happens is after 3.5 days, people are just like, I'm alive. Holy shit, who knew? And the other beautiful thing about this particular class for me is, in contrast to so many things I had done where I would change a lot, and this is before Access, I would change a lot, and then within a few days or weeks, it felt like most of the change had gone away. with this over time, it just keeps increasing. I'll never forget that first Being You class that we did in I think it was Redondo Beach or something. And it was the inaugural because the book had come out, you know? And I was like, okay, well, let's see how we go here. And to see the change in those people in 3.5 days was mind-blowing, because so many of them had never done any access before. But then to hear what had changed for them a month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year later, I was like, it just kept going and going and going. And I was like, fuck yeah. That's what I've always wanted to create, because that's what I know is possible. So that's what we're doing.
It's also, you know, usually the Being You class, we don't have a title of the first evening, but this time it's onward, upward, forward, which is what you just talked about. And it's this constant, what else is possible?
Yeah,
So it starts March 11th. Check it out. There's a link. I know that they just put on the screen. It's in the chats, and there's lots of comments in here about how melting this has been and what a contribution it's been. It's been really cool.
Awesome. Thank you all. And
thank you for melting me personally. I'm extremely grateful.
Truly my pleasure.
Yeah.
And thanks for saying what was going on.
Hey, you know, it's to the point now that it just to pretend that it's not going on is just the worst thing. It's painful.
True story. I do get that dynamically.
And it's been a phenomenal gift. So thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you to you, and thank you to everybody for being with us today. And you were all warmly invited to the class that starts March 11th. And even if you're not, just know we got your back and we adore you. And what else is possible?
There's one other cool thing I almost forgot to mention, which is we're doing this fun thing called a scavenger hunt. And if scavenger hunt doesn't make sense in your language, it's like a treasure hunt. And it's about different tools that we've placed in different places that you go find. And it's things that will give you more of you if you read it or listen to it. And there are 4 winners that are chosen that will get the /scavenger hunt. And it's actually just a really good time. And there's a Facebook group and it's wonderful. So check it out.
I'm just going to say, I don't know if it was my internet or yours, but as soon as you said there are 4 different winners, and then you went.
So we don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I think 2 have been chosen, and I think there's 2 more that will be chosen this week. But check the webpage out, go into the Facebook group, and there's lots of fun stuff happening there.
Yeah. Yes, because we have awesome people who put this together, and they're far more brilliant than I am, and they're amazing, and it's fun.
And we just like to do fun things that will give you more of you, regardless if you choose the class or not. So like this today.
Exactly.
So thanks, Dain. Anything else you want to say?
So much is possible now. And so much is possible with what has changed in the world in the last year. And my sense is that so many of the things that we have desired forever are getting closer than ever to being able to be actualized really fast. And my pool's getting clean, so I just wanted to add that.
We're doing Facebook Live.
You know, well, yeah, I'm doing a Facebook Live. That's part of the Facebook Live rule. But apparently I'm not like really in the, the appropriateness of things because there's no leaf blower outside. So I guess I'll have to deal without that. Okay. But really the tools of consciousness work way more effectively now than they ever have before. And if it's kind of like, if what I spoke to you about at all appeals to you, come, let's create it together. Let's make that the world we live. What we live as our world, what we live as our lives is our choice. Let us take the choice and choose to create something that is so phenomenal we couldn't have even imagined it was possible a year ago. Now is the time, my beautiful friends. And what if you, truly being you, with no need for image, truly being you beyond all of that, and with the vulnerability and intimacy with yourself, are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires. You are, and have way too much fun being it.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the Being You class is, there are no prerequisites. Anyone can come. You can be being not you. You can be being whatever. You just show up and allow the melting to occur.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. The toughest part of that class is getting to the class.
Yeah, I remember
that. We got everything else covered. All you got to do is be there and enjoy.
I remember my brother Connor Hill's first Being You class. He decided he needed to read the book like 45 times before the class and like really get Being You correct before he got to the class. You don't have to do that.
No image there at all.
So come play. You can go to just the evening class on the 11th. You can choose the 3.5 day. And you can come now or you can come later, whatever works for you. And thank you, Dain, so much.
Thanks, Miss Megan. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you there. Bye-bye.